Okay, here we go. I pray that you're going to find this very interesting. Let's go to Daniel chapter 3 and let's read it for about 5 minutes. Then I want to make a point to you. And I feel that this is going to make you really meditate and really pray about and really think about how things might have been in the Old Testament. Okay, here we go. Daniel chapter 3. We're going to read for about 5 minutes. Nebuchadnezzar's gold statue. Chapter 3. King Nebuchadnezzar made a gold statue 90 feet tall and 9 feet wide, and set it up on the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. Then he sent messages to the high officers, officials, governors, advisors, treasurers, judges, magistrates, and all the provincial officials to come to the dedication of the statue he had set up. So all of these officials came and stood before the statue King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Let's continue. Then a herald shouted out, "People of all races and nations," listen to that carefully, all races, all nations, all languages, listen to the king's command. When you hear, that's the key word right there. When you hear the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, pipes, and other musical instruments, bow to the ground to worship King Nebuchadnezzar's gold statue. Anyone who refuses to obey will immediately be thrown into the blazing furnace. Verse 7. So, at the sound of the musical instruments, all the people, whatever their race, whatever their nation, whatever their language, bowed to the ground and worshiped the gold statue that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Now, I have a question for you. We're in the book of Daniel in the Old Testament, hundreds and hundreds of years before Jesus was ever born as a little baby. So how on earth did they broadcast the music all over the globe? How did they do that? What technology did they have to do that? How could they possibly do that? Did they have radio? Did everybody have a radio in their house and apartments? Listen to this carefully. The herald shouted in verse 4, "People of all races, all nations, all languages, listen to the king's command." How did they get that message out to all of the nations? Isn't that interesting? Then look at verse 5. This is really cool. Remember, he's talking to all the people in all of the nations and all of the languages. In verse 5, when you hear the sound, how could they hear it? Some of them were in Egypt, thousands and thousands of miles away from Babylon. How could they possibly hear it? Some of them were in Africa, even farther than Egypt. What technology were they using to broadcast this music all over the Babylonian Empire. And the Babylonian Empire was gigantic. For example, Babylon and Assyria are in what is currently modern-day Iraq. But they captured Israel, which is quite far away. They also, a little bit later, captured Egypt, which is even farther away. How could they broadcast this music? You see, almost our entire history is a lie. Almost all of it. I wouldn't be surprised if there were only 100 people on planet Earth who knew the real history. I wouldn't be surprised if there were only 20 people on planet Earth who knew the actual real history of what really happened in our history. And history stands for His story, God's story. History is God's story, but it's been covered up with thousands upon tens of thousands of lies and deceptions and corruption and evil spreading all around the globe, non-stop. We're being flooded in lies and deceptions, and we got supernatural beings who are helping to fuel the fire of these deceptions. I'm talking about the demons now. All right. I pray that you enjoyed reading a part of Daniel chapter 3 with me. And that is very, very interesting. How did everybody hear the music? Praise God. We're going to find out one day. We're going to find out the truth one day. I can't wait.